was born ready.
Well, good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lancaster County Council to order. I ask that the clerk note for the record that a quorum of council is present, that public notice of the meeting, including the meeting agenda, has been posted the required length of time in the lobby of the County Administration Building and on the county website, and that the news media was notified of the meeting time and place. I welcome you to your county council meeting. I would ask that you take a moment to turn off or place on vibrate any cell phones or pagers. Thank you for not wearing any hats or caps in the council chambers, and please be considerate of others in the room by refraining from conversations during the meeting. I ask that you please stand and join council for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. And the Pledge of Allegiance is presented by Ms. McGriff. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we move into our meeting, please provide us with the knowledge and the wisdom to make decisions for this county. I also ask for safety of our citizens and safety of my fellow council members. I ask you this prayer in your name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, are there any changes to the agenda submitted? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion from Ms. McGriff.
Second.
Second from Mr. Luis. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay, we're going to go on to special presentations. I'd like to welcome tonight the Lancaster County Indian Land Middle School football team who won their 2024 conference championship. And I'd like to ask the coaches and any of the team members to come forward.
Well, we want to thank y'all for having us up. I know you guys have really good business to get to, but we want to thank y'all so much for recognizing us. We try to tell the parents all the time, football season doesn't start when you put the helmets on. In August, it gets started. All these guys work really hard. They put their time in. I want to definitely thank the parents. We had 63 kids out there this year. We did a fundraiser this past weekend because we lost 20 helmets. Barbecue fundraiser. So if you guys want to invest that, let us know because the helmets go out cold. Because kid safety is always on the forefront of our minds and everything. And we refer to our athletes as student athletes, not athlete students, because we have priorities, right? We always do one thing we tell the kids: be where you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to be doing. And go Warriors. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to citizens' comments. We now come to citizens' comments. Please bear in mind that this is not a period of dialogue with council or a question and answer period. This is your opportunity to address council with your concerns. I ask that you address your remarks to council as a body and not to any individual council member. Please speak into the microphones, state your name and address for the record, and you will have up to 3 minutes to address council. Your time will not start until you have provided your name and address. First, Trudy Covier.
Hi, my name is Trudy Kopic. I live at 8879 Whippoorwill Lane in Indian Land. About a year ago, or almost a year ago, people suddenly started showing up, parking on my grass, my property, and I didn't know what it was all about. And then people were saying, well, we're going canoeing in that land over there. And then eventually I found out that they're turning it into a park, but yet they keep using my property as a pass-through to that. They made their own driveway off of my driveway. And I have a lot of concerns about this, mostly is my safety. I bought this property so that I could have peace, and it reminds me of home, where I'm from, Caribou, Maine. And, you know, I'm a country girl. I like the country. So I'm concerned about the more people that come, the more it opens me up to theft, anything. I live alone. For all I know, somebody could break in and rape me. I don't know. But, you know, so I'm scared. I keep everything locked up all the time, tight now, where I didn't have to do that when I first moved in. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about ingress and egress for emergency vehicles. Today I got home and there was a fire rescue truck in my driveway, just sitting there. I have no idea what that was about. I know it had something to do with the so-called park, but they were blocking my way to my residence. There's just all kinds of issues like that, you know, the volume of traffic that park would impose, it's a lot. I heard that they're talking about doing an amphitheater. That road cannot sustain that. And widening the road wouldn't be, you know, fit with the country feel. It's a low-density residential area. We'd like to keep it that way. It's a nice place to live. It's like being in the country, but still being in the city without knowing you're in the city. It's just a wonderful place to be, and by putting in that park, it's going to take that away from us. And where I'm the last house on the street, you know, I feel like I'm boxed in with this new park. So, not sure quite what else to say, but I just wanted to make my concerns known. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jean McCoy.
My name is Jean McCoy. I live at 9213 Whistling Straits Drive in Indian Land, Sun City. I wish to speak tonight about the issue of projects being approved for one amount and then back before council for more money. In my experience of coming to these meetings, I have time and time again heard initial amounts changed and requests for more funds approved. A few examples are the airport in Lancaster, the recreation center, and the project to widen Rise Lane. I would like to request that council learn from mistakes of the past, as Councilmember McGriff stated in a meeting one time that the council should not make the same mistakes in the rest of the county that were made in Indian Land with excessive building approved. Perhaps the numbers presented in an original request and budget for a project should be looked at closer, and the impact on the whole county should be evaluated. I am praying that the entire council would have discernment of what the voters want and need and expect from their elected officials. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Peter Goldner.
Hi, Peter Goldner. I live at 8805 Whippoorwill Lane, and this is about the proposed park and greenway that they're planning on. Back to Ms. Trudy's point about the congestion, from what I'm hearing that they have planned, there is no way that road can handle, I'm hearing 400 cars a day. I mean, it's just not possible. That little country feel that we've enjoyed all these years, and the reason why I haven't sold my lot in the last 22 years, and the reason why I just built a brand new house and tore down our old one was because of what we have there. We love it there, it's quiet there, and now it seems like very underhandedly and very sneakily things have been compromised in our neighborhood. There are many conflicts of interest going on here that I can see as I peel away some layers. I'm just getting into this now. I'm actually going to retire very soon, within a week, and my full-time job is going to be to go after some of these people that lie to us and have lied to us, and it's more than one. And I will submit that in writing if you wish, and submit it to the email address there. But if they widen the road, I was not allowed to move my house back. I have almost 3 acres. And because of certain issues with, I believe, septic, it couldn't be done. My builder asked if we could move it back, and he got refused by the zoning. And it really wouldn't have been an issue for me, but it still would have been. That road's not feasible for the amount of traffic that they're going to have through. And it would have been different if there's about 9 or 10 houses on our street that are going to be impacted by this, plus another street right off Whippoorwill. It would have been different if somebody had come, sent a letter, made a phone call, knocked on the door and said, hey, this is what we have planned. You know, when this idea got proposed. Things could have been done a lot differently, especially that there's an easement in front of my house that they're going to put the road on my front porch. And it's, like I said, we were not involved in any of the planning. I guess we didn't have to be legally or anything, but it sure would have been nice if we would have known what was going on and been contacted and said, hey, do you have any ideas? What concerns do you have? We never heard anything from anybody. And they can build another road on the back, so connected to Northfield Drive. If they want to form another nonprofit and raise some money for that, that would be great.
Thank you. Sherry McGant.
My name is Sherry McGuirk. I live at 8596 Pursuit Lane. I'm here to represent Pursuit Lane, which is off of Whippoorwill, and this is all goes back to the park issue. I've lived there for 33-plus years. I've lived there over half of my life, okay? I don't have time to relocate. I don't have enough life left. So this park is going to be detrimental to me. I walk from my home, I go up to Whippoorwill, and I walk up to the thrift store on Whippoorwill. With all the traffic that has now came in from going down there and doing whatever they're doing at this point, I have to be very careful. You got large tractor trailers coming in with supplies going in and out, yard works bringing stuff in and out from their company, taking it down there. It's a narrow road. I pick up grandchildren every day from school, and I park up there near the mailboxes. And the school bus by itself, you don't pass it. When it stops in the road, let the children out, that's it. That's your road length, width, okay? So when you say that there's going to be 2 cars passing each other every day at an amount of 200 to 400, I can't even imagine that. Had kids playing ball, I know like Walnut Creek and places like that. When you say 200 to 400, you think, oh, no way possible. Yes, if you've ever had kids, they play ball, you know the amount of traffic that comes in and out from fields like this. It's quiet. I love my wind chimes. I love my birds. We have owls. All that's going to go away if this is not a nature of the park. If it's going to be soccer fields, amphitheaters, stuff like that, you're taking away our way of life, a way of life that I moved here for 30-some years ago. I understand progress, but we've dealt with a lot here that's grown in Indian land, and I was probably here for a lot of y'all. So in looking at that, it's just a lot to consume and take in. And if the park is going to be full force and come with all this, we really need to find another way in and out. Like go down to the other road, which is at the end of where the dump is and the cement plants. They could buy a little piece of property there and come in. We'd never see them, although there will be the noise issue, and that will be horrible for all of us. We won't even be able to enjoy our outside, which my home is my everything, and we put everything in it. So just really hope y'all take this to heart and consider it, and the road would just be a lot. You're going to tear up a lot of lives out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yates Dunaway.
Good evening, Yates Dunaway, 319 Heathwood Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. Just wanted to say that I'm available when item 8A comes up if there are any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Tony McCammon.
I'm Tony McCammon. I live at 2112 Hartwell Drive in Indian Land. And I'm here primarily because I'm wanting some clarification on how you come at a budget and how you make determination as what you're going to leave in, what you're going to take out. As I've been coming, I recognize that you all are just regular citizens like me, and you're serving your county the best you know how, and I'm trying to be the best citizen that I can by coming to the meetings, being well informed, and helping to make things move smoothly where I live. When I came to the last meeting, it was the second reading of the budget, and I don't know where you are in that process, but I was taken aback because there were 2 items that came to the floor that from 2 different departments that together amounted to $400,000 that had not previously been in the budget. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. I thought a budget is where you know how much money you have to spend, you figure out what your needs are, what your wants are, and you try to figure out, okay, what needs can I take care of, and then is there any money left over for once? And I was having a really hard time understanding why these two items were coming before the council in the second reading. Did they not know what their budget was before? And granted, there are going to be things that happen, but we have to make hard decisions. And if I have a decision to make about safety versus fun or recreation, I'm going to choose the safety first. If I've got a decision to make that's health-wise, I'm going to make that first versus something that could be put off for a little bit longer. So consequently, I'm asking that you all think you have some hard decisions to make because we have limited finances in Lancaster County. And in order for you to meet the needs of the county, some wants are going to have to be identified. And I don't know how you're going to go about that, but I'm asking you ask the hard questions because you've got some really hard decisions to make. And I am praying that you will do the right thing. I know you want to do the right thing, and it's not easy. But I appreciate the fact that you're sitting here willing to listen to us and to attempt to make the right decisions for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Joe McGuirt.
Yes, my name's Joe McGuirt. I live at 8596 Pursuit Lane. Going back to the park, me and my wife, you spoke with her earlier, or she spoke earlier, we've lived there for 33 plus years. And we moved there to be there. There was no, keep in mind, there was no stoplight in Indian Land. I don't know if you've ever been through Indian Land, there's a bunch now. So we moved there to be in that, knowing we'd have to drive 45 minutes or whatever to go to a store. It didn't bother us. Okay, everything's gone on now. You see what's happening. And we still had our little place. But now it feels like it's going to be took away. You know, just that little, it's just hard to explain. Unless you've been there and understanding what we're going to have to deal with. Just like my wife said, the noise. People said the traffic. When I used to pull off a whippoorwill onto whippoorwill onto. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous.
Okay.
It's just the traffic's just, you wouldn't have to wait on any cars. Now you sit there in the mornings to get out, you got 20 cars, usually using it as a cut through. So, I mean, that's about all I got, but I just, y'all please just keep in mind if the road comes up on that, like I said, if y'all could please have it moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Lacey.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Kathy Lacey, and I'm a resident of Lancaster County, and I reside at 8839 Whippoorwill Lane. I'm going to take advantage of my 3 minutes, so I'm going to read from my notes. Please bear with me. I'm here today to express my strong opposition to Whippoorwill Community Park, Incorporated, or any entity associated with the development of Whippoorwill Park using Whippoorwill Lane as an entry and exit point. I believe it's crucial for our community that the park maintains its natural integrity. Therefore, I oppose any plans for the park to be designated as a green space rather than a nature park. Additionally, I am firmly against the inclusion of soccer fields or any other sports facilities within the park boundaries. I must also address significant concerns regarding traffic noise, trespassing, and crime that arise from the park's development. Neighbors have reported workers using private property to park their vehicles and trespassing on driveways. In one troubling incident, someone working on the park deliberately blocked my driveway, preventing me from leaving my property. This individual then backed into the driveway across the street, which has been purchased from Whippoorwill Community Park, watching me closely before following me in a threatening manner. I have a description of the truck involved, and I am currently checking my security camera for further evidence. Additionally, many unanswered questions need to be addressed. What will the park's operating hours be if they are allowed to open to the public? Will there be adequate security measures in place? Will the park be accessible to all residents of Lancaster County and/or South Carolina? How will emergency services such as EMS and police gain access in emergencies? I believe these are all reasonable questions, especially considering taxpayer money has been allocated for this project. We deserve more answers than we have received thus far. It's been very disappointing. Furthermore, I am concerned about the potential rezoning of residential area of our residents to low-density residential to any designation that would disrupt the peaceful and natural environment that residents chose when purchasing their homes. It has come to my attention that there is property across the street from my resident that is being considered for use as a maintenance facility for the park, which I believe would not align with the character of our neighborhood. Finally, I want to highlight the lack of communication regarding the details of the park plans. It raises questions about transparency and accountability when individuals on county committees who have vested interest in the park continue to serve in their current positions. The situation does appear to be a conflict of interest, and I urge the council to consider whether their continued involvement is in the best interest of our community and the county. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Kathy Storm.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Storm, and I live in Treetops in Indian Land. I'm here tonight to talk about fiscal responsibility. I'm aware that at the second reading of the budget, an amendment ordinance for nearly $500,000 was added at the last minute with no prior discussion. That's a lot of money. Half of that went to pay the Public Works Department for a job that the council had previously denied. Apparently, they disregarded the council's decision and did the work and came back again for the same money. You validated that work that they did, which was unauthorized, by putting it in the second reading. And I just think you should have held them to responsibility. There are many things, as this whole neighborhood of people are talking about leisure, about fun things to do, which are important for quality of life. We understand that. But quality of life where you live is also extremely important to each of us. And we're begging you to be responsible for the things that you are putting in this county. The airport, for example, terrible decision, and I realize that I don't think most of you were here when that decision was made originally for the airport to go in. But apparently a wine company from California told the council that, oh, we have lots of tax money coming in. And therefore, the council spent a lot of money on an airport that most of the people that are living in Lancaster County don't even know that we have an airport. But now they're overrun on their budget, and they're coming back for more money. There are so many things that are important to quality of life that are extremely important for safety and for health for the citizens of this county. We beg you to put those as a priority. Leisure can wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that ends citizens' comments. We'll move on to item 7, consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I have 2 electronic citizens' comments. The first is, and you should all have physical copies of these comments at your seats. The first is from Antoinette McCammon, who spoke earlier, so I'm not going to go over her comments because she already spoke in person. The second was from Robert Bevins of Indian Land, South Carolina, who wrote in regards to opposition of the park at Whippoorwill Lane. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move to item 7, consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve consent agenda items 7A, 7B, 7C, and 7D.
Second.
Have a motion from Mr. Mosteller, a second from Ms. McGriff. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're going to move on to item 8A, first reading of ordinance number 2025-1961, an ordinance to approve a First Amendment to the development agreement between Lancaster County and Crosland Southeast for a mixed-use townhome, multifamily apartment, and non-residential development project known as The Exchange upon approximately 130 acres of land located at 8918 Charlotte Highway, Lancaster, South Carolina, establishing the regulations for the development of the property and other matters related thereto. Ms. Williams.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and council members. Tonight I have an item for you related to the development agreement, as Mr. Carnes said. This is for the exchange. Okay. It was skipping on me, I apologize. So as a little background, this is one of your newer development agreements that was executed in 2021 for a term of 5 years. This is a mixed-use development with, as Mr. Carnes said, townhomes and commercial. The Exhibit C, which is the topic of this amendment primarily, lays out the development schedule and identifies the density allowances. I believe you have that in your packet. It looks like this page. Of other significant concern is the economic development property. It's Exhibit C of the development agreement. It's approximately page 27. If you don't have it, I can give you my page. I don't mind sharing. Also have the screenshot in the package as we go to the next slide. Right there is the note that we're speaking of. Crossland Development has requested an amendment to this. We will discuss the different types of modifications to a development agreement in just a moment, but this is specifically where the density lays out, and if you can see the note, which is a screenshot from the development agreement that says the county and developer acknowledges that commercial development of the property is limited to 105,000 square feet. A little history on this. The economic development parcel that was identified in Exhibit B is now the future Costco project. Large anchor stores such as Costco and Target, Walmart, and other ones typically have retail strategies of when they are announced to come to a place, other places like to follow. Little known fact, Chipotle loves to be close to a Chick-fil-A. So that's kind of how this works. Because during the negotiations of the development agreement, it wasn't a realization that Costco would be in this development agreement, they allowed for the 105,000 square feet of commercial property. Because since Costco is now breaking dirt and putting up their building and will open soon, hopefully, this has brought in much more interest for other retailers. So the developers are requesting an additional 10,000 square feet to add to this development agreement, which is overall, the overall project is less than 1% of an increase in square footage. So one of the things is the modification required was a staff review. Because of the Costco development being added onto that, this development has already been required to make significant new infrastructure upgrades. They've had to, they're in the process of getting their permits to widen roads that they just built because of the Costco and the extra footage in there. They've also had to increase the sewer lines and water lines in there to make them larger to fit the property and the needs there. So based on that infrastructure that's already being laid out, the 10,000 square feet would not hinge upon the infrastructure that they're already putting in. So we can recommend approval because of that. But because of the nature of the agreement, this is not considered a minor modification and something that planning staff could not do as an amendment on their own, and I'm bringing it to council. These are your 3 levels of modifications that are listed in all of the development agreements. The minor modification is laid out to define those items that have to be changed because of environmental factors or regulatory requirements. A moderate modification, which we have determined that this is just something that doesn't go in the minor category. But the major modifications are things that, like, add a new road or do something major to change the site plan. And because this isn't drastically affecting a site plan, it's only extending those first 4 parcels, this should not be considered a major. That's how we determined the moderate modification. You could read there that it is your job to review this, make the decision, and I just give you the details and the recommendations. So I can answer any questions that you have, and the applicant, as he noted in public comment, is also here if you would like to request any questions from him.
Mr. Chairman, could you restate if there's a motion again, just to bring it for discussion so we've got it correct with the clerk's office for the first reading, just to make a motion for first reading?
Yes, there was a motion by Mr. Luis and a second by Ms. McGriff, and it was unanimous.
Okay. We just need, thank you for clarifying the motion.
Okay, is there any questions of Ms. Williams?
Just clarification, the planning staff did say that this was a moderate modification that only requires a resolution?
No, we did not say what it required because this is relatively new. We did determine that it was a moderate modification and that it took an action of council. We discussed it and asked our county attorney, and it would be better suited to do an ordinance, and that's why this is an ordinance.
Councilmember McGriff, if I may, the UDO requires that development agreements be done by ordinance, and this is an amendment to that, and state code does as well.
I got some questions for Mr. Dunaway. So this is, just to be clear, this additional square footage is for retail?
Correct.
Okay.
And actually, if we could flip to the next slide. So this is what is currently planned. Well, this is the intent of what would be planned if the amendment is made to the DA. If the amendment is not approved, it would still look very similar to this, just essentially that second building from the top would be about half as big. Just trying to give you some context.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's what.
So, Ms. Williams, I think, did a nice job of just explaining that when we signed the development agreement in October of 21, Costco was not on the radar. A year later, they were. We've got interest from Longhorn Steakhouse, MUSC is the second building. They want to have some space off the campus, off the hospital campus. Dental and coffee in the third building, and then bank in the fourth.
So you were talking about the second building, and that's MUSC?
Yes.
So that is the building we're talking about here?
That is our intent. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the square footage is not by building, but yes, I wouldn't be here if MUSC had not said, we want to build this building and we need a little bit more square footage to be able to do it.
Okay.
That was going to be related to my question. So the 10,000 square feet that you're anticipating to add is to that existing second building to make it a total of about 20,000 square feet?
It's, so, that second building would be 12,000 feet. There is a little bit of wiggle room in that 10,000, meaning that building would be, I think, around 4,000. You know, we're just trying to give some wiggle room there, since nothing's completely final.
Okay.
But the building, yeah, that building, the second building would, I'd say, basically be half the size that's on the screen. So go from 12,000 to 6,000 if this is not approved.
So the 10,000 is just to give yourselves some additional space, but the intent is to have that second building with hopefully MUSC, because I think that's what you were asking about, whether it was retail or what the use, the proposed
Yeah, I
use.
guess, you know, technically the term on that page that Ms. Williams passed out is commercial, which, I mean, I think is office/retail. So this would be, you know, a medical office use that sort of behaves more like retail with people coming and going.
Okay. Do you know, the other question that I have is, did we ever get an answer on the anticipated traffic counts or impact from the whole development?
You did. Well, there was an original traffic study that was approved before Costco. That was revised and has been approved since Costco.
Okay.
And this 10,000 feet, I checked before this meeting, anticipating somebody might ask a question like that, would add a combined peak AM and peak PM would add another 68 trips, which is, I think, about a 5% increase to the count. But it would not require, as Ms. Williams said, I mean, this is asking for a 1% increase on the total when you throw in the townhomes and the apartments. So again, MUFC wants to be here, and they need this building this size, and so I'm here to ask. And it's not in the big scheme of the exchange project. It's not doesn't move the needle a lot, but we cannot accommodate MUSC without it. This use in this location.
And you said the additional 10,000 square feet would generate about 68 trips.
Yeah, it's about
per day.
30-something in the morning and 30-something in the evening.
Okay.
Additional questions?
Yeah, I mean, my concern was clearly, I mean, traffic and the impact on traffic. I think clearly we've heard medical and the Panhandle especially is a concern. So MUSC being there, to me, makes a lot of sense versus another retail or something along those lines. So
Coffee shop. Okay. Yes, Ms. Williams.
Thank you. I would like to clarify the second TIA, the traffic impact analysis with the Costco, is what triggered the other road improvements with the road widening at both of the entrances and turn lanes going both ways. So that would be enhanced already regardless of the 10,000 square feet. And the 10,000 square feet, the trip generations, like he said, is not high enough to trigger a new update.
All right. Is there any additional questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8B, second reading of ordinance 2025-1956, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Lancaster County to rezone approximately 38.83 acres, which is located at 6872 Waxhaw Highway, from the rural neighborhood district to the general business district to open a business park. Do we have a motion to approve?
make that motion.
Have a motion from Mr. Graham, second from Mr. Neal. Ms. Williams.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. This item is we had first reading at your last meeting, and I presented all the information for this one. I did respectfully request that you approve it at first reading because of the applicant's inability to be here. He told me tonight that he actually attended a rural hospital conference and helped save one hospital from being bankrupt, so yay for him. But as a quick reminder of this project, we'll go through it again. This is at the off of Waxhaw Highway, very close to the North Carolina state line. It's the parcel identified in red. And Mr. Blackhall's vision is to have it rezoned to open a flex-use business park that offers services and retail goods. The property is on the photo there, and it is outlined by that area on that map as well, on the aerial view. This is a proposed sketch plan that he did present to the TRC back in 2023 with his vision. He does have some plans and he's worked on things. He put that on hold because of the need for the rezoning. So he already has some comments and knows from the TRC some things that he would need to do to improve this plan, if any. And he will be able to start working on that in full swing once the rezoning, if it is approved. This area is located around some general business, rural neighborhood, institutional property. The closest general business is zoned 420 feet south to this area. This item is located and identified as employment center on our new comprehensive plan. And again, because of all of those things, there's infrastructure there. It does fit into our comprehensive plan, and he does have some working plans and a vision for this. We do recommend approval of the request. Mr. Blackhall is here tonight, and if you have any questions for him, he'll be happy to answer those.
All right, thank you, Ms. Williams. Anyone like to speak to Mr. Blackhall?
Good evening, County Council. My name is Justin Blackhall, and my address is 2012 Colonnade Drive, Waxhaw, North Carolina. Before you ask your question, I just want to thank the Planning Commission, Ms. Williams, for covering for me at the last meeting. I was at a rural hospital conference. I didn't want to miss it, but I'm sorry that I wasn't here, and I'm here to answer your questions and give you an overview of the project if you'd like. But we can start with the question. Or?
That'd be great if you can start with an overview.
Sure. The purpose of the rezoning request is in line with the small area plan and the comprehensive plan designating this site for future employment area. I'm your neighbor in Waxhaw, and I've experienced the growth in the northern panhandle. This site is south of that area, and it's on the Highway 75 intersection of 521, which we've looked at some traffic data. Development would actually significantly pull traffic away from the overcongested area to a site that we think is actually underutilized. We're showing about 20,000 trips a day coming from just south of 75 on 521, heading north into the Panhandle, coming out of the Walnut Creek area, Highway 75 area. And I think that some of that traffic can stay local from where it's coming from in Waxhaw and other areas. It's in line, I submit with the macro intent of the county because you've designated the parcel as future employment. And I think it also falls in line with the micro goals. It is currently zoned rural neighborhood. It's cleared of all trees. There are no mature trees there. It's bordered by high-tension power lines. On the east to the north is a large transformer station and active railroad tracks. There are no homes that buttress the site, so there's really no rural character to preserve. And so for those reasons, we're submitting an application for rezoning, and I'm happy to answer questions.
What are the anticipated uses here?
Sure. Well, the vision is a flex space office park to allow for professional and some trade use. Vision came from seeing another development a little bit north have all of its tradesmen sort of pushed out by other higher-paying tenants and offering some local employment folks, consider maybe a plumber or something like that, who's going to head in to do some work in the local area, having a place, affordable location to house their store.
Okay.
And as the area develops, consider what it needs, but that's what we think it needs right now.
So it's more like professional services, office services, things like that?
Yes, that's going to be the majority of it. That's the vision.
Are there any additional questions? Okay, we'll move on. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 8C, second reading of ordinance 2025-1958, an ordinance to amend the Lancaster County Code, specifically Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 2, Rules of Parliamentary Procedures applicable to the council meetings, including committee meetings and all boards and commissions for which county council appoints a majority of members.
Mr. Lawrence, I apologize, but before we do that, could I request that Mr. Blackhall's rezoning be placed on the consent agenda for next meeting?
Before we do that, we need Mr. Harper. We only do that when we have 7 council members here. So without Mr. Harper.
Disregard, never mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're at item 8C. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Mr. McGriff. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Graham. Ms. DuPont.
Mr. Chair, members of council, by way of background, if you'll go to that for a second, and historically, as we've talked about in the past, your current rules of procedure were adopted on August 10th, 2020, and they mirror the model rules of parliamentary procedure for South Carolina counties, which is published by the South Carolina Association of Counties, with some modifications that work with your existing practices and procedures. They include a great deal of verbatim statutory law, particularly in regards to FOIA requirements, and they are also required to be utilized by all your boards and commissions for which the county council appoints a majority of the members. At your last meeting and per your vote on March 10th, 2024, the amended ordinance before you now continues to codify your rules of procedure. If you'll recall at the last meeting, we talked about perhaps taking that out of your code of ordinances and doing it by resolution, but we have on your vote changed the ordinance that is in front of you to now keep the rules of procedure and simply amend and keep them codified for you. So what you see before you in your packet represents the changes that were requested by council members as voiced during both days of your calendar year 2025 retreat, and is captured both in notes that were taken by staff as well as a recording of the meeting. So the following were the areas where changes were requested following the review of the draft rules and the changes which were made as necessary in accordance with those notes and those requests. If you look on page 5 of the ordinance in your packet, it's section 246, the agenda. Per your request, we have clarified that the agenda is to be set by the council chairman with input from the county administrator, with final approval being the council chairman's. That was the request of council, and we have made that so. The next item was section 248. That is a new number. It deals with public hearings. It's on page 7 of the ordinance. Per your request, we have mirrored the public hearings with the public comment section, so it is the same parameters, how long they speak, et cetera, and how long the public hearings will go. We also included some additional language regarding repetitive presentations, that the chairman would be able to say, these are repetitive and we can move on in the interest of time because there is a time limit in there. And that the submission of any materials that anyone speaking at a public hearing, if they submit those for consideration, that will become a part of the official minutes. Under FOIA, if they give it to you to look at during the meeting, it automatically becomes part of the minutes. However, if they submit it to the clerk or so forth, it will become a part of the minutes as well, according to these rules. The last section was section 250. That was a new number. It's on pages 10 through 12 of the ordinance that's in front of you, and that's the voting to elect board, committees, and commissions, and council member appearances before boards, committees, and commissions. It was suggested at our last discussion that state law already addressed that, and there would be no need for the paragraph specifically that dealt with council member appearances before boards, committees, and commissions. But to clarify, this paragraph is not based upon state law or the ethics law. It is based more upon the appearance of impropriety and the potential for possible influence, which are not technically and/or legally an ethical conflict of interest matter. The paragraph intends to address a situation where a council member might appear before a board, committee, or commission in their unofficial capacity as a citizen or business owner to discuss a matter. Certainly, council members have the rights that all other citizens have or business owners have in regards to an appearance. However, this attempts to limit those appearances to those where a council member is directly impacted or asked to appear in their official capacity. The paragraph further provides additional protections in that statements need to be made that the council member is appearing in their personal capacity and not their capacity as a council member, unless, of course, again, asked to appear in their official capacity, and to refrain from making any statements as to how they might address the matter if and when it would come before council. So to summarize, this paragraph is to prevent the general public from feeling that there is undue influence on any board, committee, or commission due to an appearance of a council member before them. The paragraph does not prohibit a council member from attending a board, committee, or commission meetings. Those were the three areas that were the most of concern that we addressed in this ordinance. There are some other changes that we have discussed before that council did not seem to express any concerns with. We are requesting this evening that you proceed with second reading to amend the codified rules of procedure, and then third and final reading at the April 14th, 2025 council meeting. Happy to take any questions, but wanted to just summarize those three positions that you all had some concern about at our last two retreat meetings.
Is there any questions or concerns? Hearing none, we'll move on to the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8D, a resolution number 1289-R2025, a resolution to state the commitment of Lancaster County to enter into a special source revenue credit agreement with an entity identified by the county as Project Block, including any related or affiliated entities, to provide the general terms of the special source revenue credit agreement and to state the commitment of Lancaster County to place property owned or leased by Project Block in a multi-county industrial or business park. Mr. Fulk.
Yes, thank you. We have before you today Resolution 1289-R2025 related to Project Block. Project Block is a subsidiary of a European entity and has operations throughout the United States. They purchased an existing building about a year ago, 30,000 square feet, and site in a multi-county park. They purchased 20 acres in District 1. The site is and has been zoned HI heavy industry for at least 15 years. The company manufactures architectural stone materials that might be found around a pool or outside living area. Most of the investment will be made in new equipment, approximately $14 million. Overall, the company plans to invest $21 million in total and employ 30 people by the end of the 5-year investment period starting in 2024. The company will use available cash for its investments. Average wages by the end of 2025 are expected to be $26.69 per hour. With full production and all employees, the project will show an hourly average wage by the end of the investment period of $22.32. The company benefits package is generous, with the company providing medical, dental, vision, and matching 401k plan. Together, these benefits are expected to equal approximately 35% of wages. The company is expected to use the Port of Charleston for exports and imports. In this resolution, Council commits to provide SSRC incentives equal to 25% for each of the 5 years. To effectively obtain a fixed millage, there are two calculations for the final SSRC, which I will not go into detail now, but the first SSRC will run for 20 years, the life of the agreement. The company commits to a minimum investment of $15 million and 20 employees. The Economic Development Department supports this resolution and requests your affirmative vote.
Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
Make that motion.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion from Ms. McGriff, a second from Mr. Mosteller. Questions from Mr. Fulk? Anyone have questions?
I had a couple just to clarify. So how much in total taxes would the project be paying if we didn't do this? How much if we do this? Kind of trying to get a balance on what the investment is and what the return that we're expecting.
So I had that material, or have that material I was going to talk about in the ordinance, but I can go over it now.
Yes.
So under an ad valorem situation where there are no incentives whatsoever, and taking a 5-year period, because that's what it's a state-supported project, 5 years, the normal property taxes would aggregate to about $1.8 million. Now, arguably, they wouldn't come here because they got incentives in other counties. But if it were pure ad valorem, it'd be $1.8 million. The way I like to look at it is to take the FILO agreement or the SSR agreement and compare that to any abatement. So under a straight SSR or FILO agreement at 6% ratio, the collection of taxes would be $1.2 million, $1.3 million at the end of 5 years. The 25% SSRC over the 5-year period accounts for $319,000. So that's what we're giving up. That's our investment. And over the 5-year period, the net to the county is $957,000. Now, in the 6th year through the 20th year, there are no more SSRCs, and so they will go away, and the net payments will not be abated at all, and that will accumulate to about $2.5 million over the 20-year period.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other additional questions?
And I'd just like to clarify something that you said. If we don't do some of these projects, there are a lot of times when folks will question why we're giving these benefits away. But in reality, these projects may not show up, and they may not be in our county. They may not show the total benefits that you just outlined if we don't do this. So it provides an incentive to get folks to come here initially, and then they are here for a longer term, adding additional long-term value to our county.
Thank you. Correct.
The 30-plus jobs is really good, too. It's good paying jobs, $22 to $26 an hour. That's pretty good.
Any other comments? If not, I call for the question. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous, 6-0. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8E, first reading ordinance number 2025-1951, an ordinance to authorize the execution and delivery of a special source revenue credit agreement by and between Lancaster County and an entity identified by the county as Project Block, including any related or affiliated entities, providing for special source revenue credits and to express the intention of County Council to provide monies to the Economic Development Fund. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Ms. McGriff.
Second.
Second from Mr. Graham. Mr. Fulk.
You have before you ordinance 2025-1951 to authorize the execution and delivery of a special source revenue credit agreement. This agreement runs for 20 years, and within the agreement, failure to meet either the investment or jobs requirement shall result in the termination of the SSRC in that year and retroactively. I've already gone through the illustration of the tax revenues and be glad to answer any questions there. There was a question that came up about the benefits to Lancaster County and constituents. So I'd like to go over that too. These are just some of the benefits. I don't think they include them all. The company will employ 30 new workers, to your point, not just moving workers from one state to another. So I think that's important. The company will pay property taxes that will help lessen the tax burden for residences, and I think that's important too. And this project seems to be a best use of this particular site, which does have a deficiency in terms of no public wastewater pipe access. So the Economic Development Department supports this project and requests an affirmative vote from council for this first reading of ordinance 2025-1951.
Thank you, Mr. Fulk. Is there any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Vote's unanimous, 6-0. We're going to move on to item 9, discussion and action items. I don't believe we have anything that needs to be considered, but
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. This is just an update to let you know what the current vacancies are and term expirations that are coming up.
all right, thank you, Ms. Simpson. That concludes our business night. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, yes, sir.
We are adjourned.